And welcome back, everyone, to Who Would Win, the week of Who Would Win. I'm on my third one today. I got one more video after this. And we're from Corey Jackson. We got Black Widow versus the Baroness from G.I. Joe. The Baroness works for Cobra! And she is more or less their femme fatale, espionage, member of the group. She is skilled in hand-to-hand combat, does carry several weapons on her, but her bread and butter is actually infiltration, espionage, and sabotage. She's a saboteur, first and foremost. Now, that's not to say she isn't good in a fight. As I said, she is still, most members of Cobra are skilled in just any straight forms of hand-to-hand combat. But she doesn't really, but her specialty actually comes into, again, infiltration, espionage, and sabotage. Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, her backstory has changed occasionally, but generally speaking, she grew up in the Red Room, trained to be an assassin, ultimately started off actually more antagonistic than heroic, but ultimately turned a new leaf and has been fighting for the side of good ever since. She is Russian-born. She is skilled in many forms of unarmed combat, is a practiced marksman, skilled pretty much with just about any weapon you can. She does actually have a very mild version of the super soldier serum too, which has kind of allowed her to keep her looks as she's gotten older, because she's actually older than she looks, at least depending on the interpretation you're looking at. She's always in peak condition, and she also comes equipped with a couple specialized weapons. For example, her widow bites, which allow her to do a couple things. One, I think, is she does have like a poison she can shoot from as darts, but more than anything, it acts more like a taser, which is good to know. Now, there's not much else to say about this. Like anything these individuals could carry on them for weapons, the other could also. But I'm going to tell you right now, the one that's going to have a harder time this fight than the other is the Baroness, because the Baroness is not inherently an assassin. She can kill people, and she has, but she's not an assassin by nature. She's, like I said, infiltration, espionage, and sabotage. Natasha is an assassin, and when you're talking about a fight, that does make a difference. Doesn't matter how well trained you are, if one's got the mentality and the overall will to just kill you in cold blood, and is trained to do so, that does make all the difference. That is not to say that the Baroness doesn't know how to kill and can't be cold, but it's just that one was trained as a little girl to be that, whereas the other is more like later in life kind of finds her calling kind of thing. Not to mention that Natasha is, frankly, like most of the people in G.I. Joe are good soldiers, good, at what they do. But unless you're Snake Eyes, you're not really all that highly trained in terms of what your field is, in terms of combat, marksmanship, all that. Again, not to say she isn't a good shot, but Natasha's frankly just got the better feats overall in the long based on just a longer history too. And she also has to contend with metahumans on a regular basis, whereas G.I. Joe does have a couple kind of metahumans, but nowhere near the same degree that Marvel does. Add on the fact, too, that if this fight gets in close range, she has the advantages of her widow bites, which is not something the Baroness is immediately prepared to handle. And if it just gets in close combat, Natasha just has a wider repertoire of fighting styles under her belt. She's trained under Wolverine. She can go toe to toe with someone like Cap in a fight if she has to. She is skilled. She's far more skilled than a lot of the guys at G.I. Joe. Hell, she'd give Snake Eyes a good fight if we're just talking about hand to hand. I do think Snake Eyes would win that fight though, at least just hand to hand. Not to mention that her suit, despite it looking like rubber, is in fact body armor to varying degrees. So she's frankly just the more dangerous individual between the two of them. Again, that's not to say the Baroness does carry more heavier firepower on her more often, but that doesn't really mean much, as Natasha is a good tactician and knows how to just avoid firepower and aim for the right shot more or less at the right timing. So I would probably go Black Widow on this fight. The Baroness is not weak by any stretch of the means. It's just that Black Widow's kind of just a superior version of the Baroness, if we're going to just really be honest. But this is just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.